When you hear the word preaching, what do you think of? Maybe your mind goes to a particular place. Someone standing at the front of a church. There may or may not be a pulpit, but it's most likely a Sunday morning and someone is standing on a stage talking about God and Jesus and the Bible. The preacher's job is to preach, and everyone else in the room is there to listen. People sit quietly trying to pay attention. Their job is to hear the words being spoken to them and be convicted about trying to be more grateful or generous or compassionate, helpful or holy. Most of the time, there is a particular text the preacher is reading and the rows of passive ears are trying to follow along in their heads and hearts, in their Bibles or on their smartphones. This is the typical understanding of preaching. It's done in a church, and it's done by the preacher. But this paradigm overlooks two key details. The first is that preaching, as described in the Bible, is never confined to a particular place. Jesus announced the kingdom on mountainsides and from boats. Peter testified in a centurion's house, and Paul proclaimed the gospel in the middle of a crowded marketplace. Wherever people gathered, Jesus or his disciples took advantage of the opportunity to preach. The second is that preaching in the Bible is never confined to one particular kind of person. Professionals. John the Baptist preached with no formal training. Jesus spent his childhood following his father's trade, not being trained by the rabbis. The disciples were fishermen, tax collectors, political revolutionaries, not professional preachers. But one common thread that runs through all those who proclaimed, every one of them encountered Jesus and were transformed by repenting and believing the good news. They were prepared to speak about the truth concerning what they had seen and heard. So while it's true that every Sunday morning here at Sunnybrook, you'll hear someone preach truths about Jesus and his kingdom, preaching itself should never be restricted to this specific place, or this specific time, or a few specific people. Everyone who has encountered the truth about Jesus should be willing and able to preach to anyone, anywhere, about the hope that they have found in him.